Good morning. Good morning, everyone. TheoSophia here. So, how is everybody? Let's see here. Good morning, Chase. Good morning, Carol. Gina M. is asking for prayers. So, before we even begin, let's take a moment and call in Mother and Father and all the angels and all the ascended masters. And let's send the light of that whichever is needed by Gina M. to her and all her family, to whatever it is, perhaps for her physically or around her energy, or another in her family. May it be at peace as we call attention to the angels to come and to support this existence. And many blessings to you, Gina M. All right. So, and there's Christina from far away. Thank you for coming. So, interesting day yesterday. There's Marby. Good morning. Barbara Ward. Wishing for a joyous day. I am feeling myself today. How's that? Pretty good. All right. So let's do our mantra. I am the light. I am the soul. I am the light divine. I am love. I am will. I am fixed design. Let's take a breath. Very good. So something came to me. Oh, there's Marby again. All right. I want to read to you from one of DK's books. If anyone wants to mention tomorrow what happened yesterday or anything they're feeling today, feel free to do so. But I want to share with you about intuition. I think everybody has their own view about what it is, what it isn't, what's working for you, where's it coming from. So I thought it might be advantageous. He has a book called Ponder on This, asking you to ponder on all these things that we all have thoughts about, So let me read a little bit and you can let me know. And first thing he says, if you will consider with me first what intuition is not. Now, it's an interesting way he chooses to teach you sometimes. And he says, I think you will find my words fascinating. It's not a welling forth of love to people. So when you're feeling a lot of love, that's not intuition. An understanding of people is not intuition. Much that is called the intuition is recognition of similarities and the possession of a clear analytical mind. Intelligent people who have lived in the world for some time, who have experienced much and who have contacted many other people, can usually sum up with facility the problems and dispositions of others, provided they are interested. This they must not, however, confound with that they have intuition. Intuition has no relation to psychics and their psychism, either higher or lower. The seeing of a vision or the hearing of a voice in the silence, a pleased reaction to teaching of any kind, does not infer the functioning of the intuition. Do I have your attention yet? It is not only the seeing of symbols For that is a special sort of perception and the capacity to tune in on the universal mind upon the layer of its activity, which produces the pattern forms on which all etheric bodies are based. It is not an intelligent psychology and a loving desire to help that emanates from the interplay of a personality governed by a strong soul orientation and the group conscious soul. So we've heard of a lot of things that we know maybe yourself does or other people do. That's not intuition. Intuition is the synthetic understanding, which is the prerogative of a soul. And it only becomes possible when the soul, on its own level, is reaching in two directions, either towards God and towards the integrated and perhaps coordinated at one time with the personality. It is the first indication of a deeply subjective, unified, which will find its consummation at the third initiation. So there takes a level of growth to have your intuition ignited. Intuition is a comprehensive grip of the principle of universality, and when it is functioning, there is, momentarily at least, a complete loss of the sense of separateness. And we would call that when we sometimes work together and it becomes like an awe, like, wow, what just happened? That's the kind of energy that it spawns from. At its highest point, it is known as that universal love, which has no relation to sentiment or to the affectional reaction, but is predominantly in the nature of an identification with all beings. Then is true compassion known. Then does criticism become impossible. Then only is the divine germ seen as latent in all forms. So all those things must become before you can give it to the intuition. Intuition, therefore, brings its appearance with three qualities: illumination, understanding, and love. These three words sum up the three qualities or aspects of the intuition and can be covered by the word universality or the sense of universal oneness. So I'm curious to hear if that's what you've all thought intuition was. The major point I would seek to make here is that the intuition is the sense or source of the bestower of revelation. Through the intuition, progressive understanding of the ways of God in the world and on behalf of humanity are revealed. Through the intuition, the transcendence and the immanence of God is sequentially grasped. Through the intuition, man arrives at the experience of the kingdom of God and discovers the nature, the type of lives and phenomena, and the characteristics of the Son of God as they come into manifestation. Through the intuition, some of the plans and purposes working out through the manifested created worlds are brought to his attention and his shown in that way he and the rest of humanity, let me turn the page, can cooperate and hasten the divine purpose. Through the intuition, the laws of the spiritual life, which are the laws governing God himself, conditioning Shambhala, and guiding the hierarchy, are brought to his notice progressively, and he proves capable of appreciating them and working them. So that begins to say to us the intuition only begins to work for someone who's diligently upon their path and have become a disciple and are bringing peace and harmony into their heart. The intuition is a reality, only the appreciation by the mind of some factor in creation, some law of manifestation, and some aspect of truth, known by the soul, emanating from the world of ideas, and being in the nature of those energies which produce all that is known and seen. These truths are always present. These laws are ever active, but only is the mind trained and developed, focused and open-minded, can they be recognized, later understood, and finally adjusted to the needs and the demands of the cycle and time. The intuition guides all advanced thinkers into the newer fields of learning. It is the forerunner of the omniscience, which is characteristic of the soul. So I thought that was interesting because I think we could find many people that are thinking something different is their intuition. Excuse me. So it's curious. For I can remember I was always taught the intuition came from the belly, like a knowing. And I didn't hear him say that. It's more a wisdom, knowingness of God where it comes from. Because you and your soul and its unification of the personality, which is the third initiation, has become unified to know these things. What is it that other people then may be seeing is a perception. And they are determining to, from either time and time again, have a perception of what certain things mean. So intuition is a very special gift. Today I was watching Dr. Pol this morning, and I was very shocked to hear him say, and I'm sure I've heard him say it before, but he was explaining how he could go in to a pregnant mother and feel what was happening. The fingers are the greatest sight there is. And what I'm wanting to point out to you, that's not intuition. Closes his eyes, he puts his hand in, and his third eye, which is right here in the middle of every finger, is speaking and showing to him. That's not intuition, that's perception. So hopefully if you work with this in your world, you can begin to see the difference and understand it. It's almost like intuition is an aha moment, not a description or an understanding or an answer, just in passing. Intuition is that recognition of reality which becomes possible as glamour and illusion disappear. Intuition won't see those. An intuitive reaction to truth will take place along a particular line of approach to a truth. And the disciple has succeeded in quieting the thought form making processes of the mind so that the light can flow directly and without any deviation from the higher spiritual worlds. So it's talking a lot about you and your relationship with yourself. And, excuse me. So what that means, maybe you've already worked a lot on yourself. What is your personality? If I ask you your personality, can you go and imagine? It's the 4 lower chakras. It's the patterns that you've cleared from there and ones that still haven't been cleared. And makes up your personality. And when things come from those, yes, the heart is part of it, because the heart lands on the line of half purity and half to be healed. So that's why it's still a part of the personality. Now, the soul isn't existent in a chakra other than you can go through the solar plexus chakra on a journey to find your soul temple. But in that, the soul then is an expansive thing through all of who you are. So there is a difference. And information that you bring forth is different. Now, for me, here's how I know I'm doing a soul healing, is I'm talking to someone and I've happened to tap into that soul. There's going to be faces changing. And I'll just sit there and I'll just keep changing. And the person doesn't even realize it's happening. It's a deep, deep place they've moved into, and other aspects who are wanting to participate in the healing are coming up and showing themselves. That person who has that ability is a soul healer. It's not intuition. It's something that happens and then you own it. Not that I can never call it up. It happens. The only time I can call it up is one of the works I do. We call up the soul participants who want to heal and release the same thing we're working on. So we're talking in a little bit more of an in-depth for you to understand, for those of you who want to have understanding. There's a lot of ways to look at all things and to understand what they mean. So if someone's curious about the journey to the soul temple, when you go in that soul opening, and you always travel with your higher self, no matter where it is, and a lantern, and you work through the chakra and you'll be shown, there's a certain way you go through that journey, and there's always a tree before you reach it. And you're allowed to take one note, however that is on your tree, and it's a message for you to contemplate while you go into your temple. The temple could be a teepee, it could be a Grecian palace, it could be a Roman palace. And I've seen glass places for that person who's afraid of what people say. Here they've made their soul temple out of glass. Just a whole different level of investigation for yourself. But understand what would be different from the soul and the personality. The personality would be too afraid to even go. Afraid of what it might find out. Afraid of what it's really saying and what it wants from it. It has reaction. It has sadness. All those are those front emotions of the second chakra, where a lot of the personality lies. And as you move up to the third and fourth, it's less and less. And the root can have a lot of personality, but then in itself, it has a lot of additional growth also as you take it down into the earth, into Mother. And that energy moving up and down a lot makes changes to the root. But that fear of safety, a lot of people have a fear about being here on earth. And it'll show up as different allergies. And not too many people think of it that way. Now, you have a reaction to something on the earth, you are afraid of being here. So as you work with those things and get through them, you'll find yourself healthier and more at peace and find a place of safety in your world to sit with. So we've talked a lot about all these things. Again, always to encourage you to widen what you know and maybe making sense to some of the things you've experienced. So, intuition are truths that come in an instant. Like, oh, I need to call somebody. That's an intuition, especially if it's something about what you've been wanting to have happen in your life. And there's a certain point of the union of the personality to the soul that is allowing you to awaken that gift to allow you to see that. Perception exists in the third eye. The third eye has its own process. Everyone has all the gifts. How people receive them and choose them is unique and different to each soul. But it takes working with, opening that third eye, being willing to see. People are afraid to see what's not right in front of them, to see spirit, to perceive spirit, because imagination works wonderful. It's 99% accurate. I worked with the brain people first, and they had found that even for dyslexia, working with the brain and doing certain things to change it would bring them back into health. So a lot of various things, and I don't know what all of you do, and or if this is something that helps or not. But the next time something comes to you, you need to ask yourself, well, is this intuition? Where's it coming from inside of me? And how do you feel about it? How can you love people? You simply go into your heart, work to open it and to let it become expansive, and send love, what level of love that you've opened to, and let it fill the room. It's not intuition. It's as easy as going there and radiating love into the room, and we can all do that together right now, to the earth, to the atmosphere, to wherever your heart is today. Let's just let the pink energy of that ray 3 of love from Orion that's coming down through you, to open it and for it to surround and embrace everything upon earth and in its atmosphere. And I'm also receiving the word peace. Now that would be an intuition because it's coming. It's just coming. It's not coming from my third eye. Feel that vibration of the union of all that. So I'm hearing a question about the soul. Well, then what is the soul? So just let me see, since we're using his words today, if he's written about it, maybe not. He does. If I can get the pages to shift here. Let's just see for a few words what he says. Matter, which is your physical body, is the vehicle for the manifestation of your soul on this plane of existence. So if you didn't have that, you wouldn't have a soul. And soul is the vehicle on a higher plane for the manifestation of spirit. These three are a trinity synthesized by life, which pervades them all. Through the use of matter, the soul unfolds and finds its climax in the soul of man. Here's a question. Is intuition and the higher self the same thing? No. Intuition is, well, like I read you, it's a thought that comes from truth. The higher self is you. It comes in with you when you're born. It is a being who has agreed to be that higher self for you. And as you evolve, and it's God's energy, but it's also of this world. It understands this world. There are 352 levels of God to work through as you go up the journey. This is the first one that knows about this world. All the others are only going to know God. So that's why the higher self is so powerful. And as you grow and it aligns as it comes down over you, your chakras, you will become that higher self in an illumined light being. So it's actually a very blessed thing. And it's going to really know, where am I going? What's my journey? How can you help me? What am I here to do? As you get to where you become into your heart and a greater relationship with God, it will begin to answer and support you with those questions. So that's what the higher self is. It's one of the first level of the 352 levels of God. And it knows God, and it knows our world. Because you might find that interesting that you can't really sit with God and say, well, my laptop's not working. Can you help me? He's not going to know what a laptop is. The higher self will know what a laptop is, you see. It's a bigger perception that our Father has. So you must learn to change that discussion for him. So I hope that helps you understand. Let's see what else he says about soul here. Through the use of the matter of the soul, it unfolds and finds its climax in the soul of man. The soul is as yet an unknown quantity. It has no real place in theories of the academic and scientific investigators. It is unproven and regarded by even the more open-mindedness of the it comes up these words, academicians, I guess, as a possible hypnosis, but lacking demonstration. It is not accepted as a fact in the consciousness of the race. That's why I say it's just like an openness that comes around you. It holds, as I'm hearing that question, it holds all the lives you've lived. They were a part of your soul. Now, if some of them aren't healed and have issues, that's actually what you're working out this life. Will come from the soul part of yourself. And as those parts evolve, they will move into more of your higher self. You see? Only two groups of people accept it as a fact. One is the gullible, undeveloped, childlike person who, brought up on a scripture of the world and being religiously inclined, accepts the postulates of religion, such as the soul, God, and immortality, without questioning. The other is the small but steadily growing band of the knowers of God and of reality, who know the soul to be a fact in their experience, but are unable to prove its existence satisfactorily to man, who admits only that which concrete mind can grasp, analyze, criticize, and test. The soul is the quality which every form manifests. It is that subtle something which distinguishes one element from another, one mineral from another. It is the intangible, essential nature of the form which in the vegetable kingdom determines whether a rose or a cauliflower, an elm or a watercress shall come into being. It is a type of energy which distinguishes that varying species of the animal kingdom and makes one man different from another in appearance, nature, or character. The soul is neither spirit or matter. It is the relation between them. The soul is the mediator between this duality. It is the middle principle, the link between God and his form. Therefore, the soul is another name for the Christ aspect, whether in nature or in man. The soul is the form-building aspect and is that attractive factor in every form, which drives all God's creations forward along the path of evolution, through one kingdom after another, towards an eventual goal and a glorious consummation. The soul of mankind is not only an entity linking spirit and matter and mediating between monad and personality, but the soul of humanity has a unique function to perform in mediating between the higher three kingdoms in nature and the lower three. So, I don't want to confuse you by going on. So, the soul is, if you've lived, like I've lived 149,000 lives. I had a man who was good at that do that for me. Don't think you've only had a couple. We've all had a lot of lives that we come back to this classroom to learn and to heal these soul lives that are given life and choose to turn right or to turn left and not maybe go on the straight path. Doesn't matter. It's all purposeful in the development of each soul. And then there's a point when the soul can begin to touch and become the spirit. All an evolution. There are 7 levels of soul, which is for another day. But to give you a hint, the first level is to be a baby soul. Well, it acts just like little babies. Doesn't know what to do. It's looking around. When it comes to spirituality, it knows nothing. The second level of the soul, I'll go one more, because you're going to know who this person is. It's the baby that throws the tantrum and wants to have control and power of everything. Doesn't want you to tell it what to do. It doesn't want to follow any rules. That is a level of action of the soul in the 7. So we can see them act out in lives as you grasp them and get to know them. And can it change? Yes, there is developmental to that. That's what healing's for, is to be able to begin to change those things. Okay, so Chase is thanking me for answering her questions. Does anyone else have any questions, or was that just a lot of information? A lot of information. All right. That's what I was asked to give you today. Well, so now you're going to have a long weekend. You'll have a lot to contemplate. A lot to contemplate about you and where you're on your path and what part of your beingness do you let affect you? You know? Does your personality come up easily and take control? Recently went through a whole process of what the personality issues can be. It was a lot to take in. Need to listen again to grasp it all. That's fine. It was a lot. I was reading from the book, attempting to soften it a little bit when I was talking. But yes, it's a powerful journey to really be the disciple and to begin to learn about everything. And what it does is help you understand the light and how you really do become light. It's all powerful. So, while we're here to have conversation, we're here to grow, and I'll step back a little bit and do it a little bit gentler, but I think it's good to hear it and to sit with it inside you and then bring me questions. How's that? So, I wish you all a blessed weekend, and I know here in Florida we're having rain for 5 days, so I guess it finally worked its way towards us. So I hope you're having better weather wherever you are. So many blessings to you, and I'll see you on Monday. Have a good one.